Brothers and sisters,
AHOD.
All hands on deck.
sisters,
All hands on deck. On deck. On deck. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. On deck. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. On deck.
AHOD.
You are now tuned in to the AHOD podcast. AHOD stands for All Hands on Deck. My name is Big Vern, Hudson City and its surrounding areas. I am back. Today, I am able to interview one of my very best friends, the mayor. Welcome, the Honorable Kamal Johnson. Slay, what's good, dog?
What's up, man? What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And for everyone that's listening, you did not hear me wrong. This is one of my best friends. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh, so the mayor's gonna have his best friend interview him. But
Yeah.
Slay, do me a favor and like just tell the story about how you and I met and how our friendship started out.
Yeah, I mean, we both met, in the barber shop wanting to do something, for our community. That meeting turned into a spirited debate and argument.
And,
And I gotta say, years and years later, I was right.
no, you were right.
And we've been just close since then, man.
I think the point that I wanted to make this point is that we have been on the other side and we haven't agreed on everything, but we've been able to sit down and have really good conversations. And I think I'm the best person to do this interview with you. So I just wanted to let people know that. I do also want to let everybody know that I am not a professional. This is not my job. I'm going to do my best, but I'm just a regular person, and this is a hobby. So, Mayor Johnson, if you're ready, I'm ready. You ready?
Ready? Yes, sir.
So my very first question is, what the hell is going on with you and Gal? Nah, 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 nah.
Now let's get to
No,
it.
no, 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 no. Hold on. No, 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 no.
Part.
Hold on. No, that's not my first question, but we definitely will be talking about Galvin in this interview.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that out there. But I do want you to do me a favor. I want you to go back to June 24th, 2025, 10:30, 11 p.m., maybe 12 midnight. You found out that you did not win the Democratic primary. Talk us
Yeah.
through that. Tell me how you felt. What was going on
Yeah, I mean, I just think, we got a plan that, I'll talk about when November is over, that has to do with the primary. But it was eye-opening, and I think it needed to happen to really wake people up. I think everybody kind of took for granted, I'm just gonna win. Everybody's gonna, have to come out. I'm gonna win regardless, and we didn't. So I didn't make any excuses. I congratulated my opponent, and kept it professional.
there?
But there's a bigger storyline that if November goes the way it's supposed to, that'll really be eye opening for folks.
Okay. So I do have to go right away and go into one of those Galvin's questions. And my question to you is, what is your relationship, or can you explain the relationship of a mayor and the Galvin Foundation?
Yeah, it's just weird because, like, me personally, since I've been mayor, or even before I was mayor, when I was councilman, I've never voted on anything for the Galvin Foundation. I've never had any contracts with them. I've never been in a part of any discussions. I don't have Eric Galloway on speed dial. Like, so to me, a lot of this comes from the fact that, I'm a mayor and they need something to go after me. And like the lowest hanging fruit is to connect me with Galvin, because that's, the bad guy that people have created, and, that riles people up. But it really has nothing to do with me. When Galvin purchased all the properties in Hudson, I was, in high school. I wasn't in leadership when this took place, and I know that it's about me personally and not about like anything else because people know where I live, they know where I work, they know my history, they know all of these things, but none of these questions are being asked of my opponents. So it's like, we have an opponent that he doesn't even have an address listed. He's unhoused supposedly, and there's no stories about it. There's no, questions about that. We have, my another opponent who just dropped out, whose, assessment is super low. And then everybody else is on the street. Nobody talks about that. They want to know, how much rent I pay, but my other opponent owns property in Hudson. How much is he charging to these tenants? What's any of their education level? What are their experience? Where do they work? Like we know nothing about them, and it's all like, but Kamal's this, but Kamal's that.
So I want to piggyback off of that a little bit and just stay with this Galvin for a second. I've been around long enough to know that former mayors had relationships with Galvin. I know for a fact, rest in peace to Mayor Rector. He had a relationship with Galvin. The Godfather has a relationship with Galvin. Mayor Hollenbeck, I know for a fact, had a relationship with Galvin. And I'm not sure about Mayor Hamilton, but I'm saying, I think my question is, what is the difference between their relationships and yours? Because it seems like you're getting penalized, and we all know for a fact that these other mayors had relationships standing on the front line with the Galvin Foundation.
And they actually know. They know. Eric. They know all the players that are part of the Galvin Foundation. I just live in a Galvin property. I pay my rent every month. Everybody knows where I live. They post it everywhere. They talk about it. And I think the difference is when you look at my body of work and you don't want to talk about what I've accomplished, you have to go to the Galvin card and say like, oh, well, he's connected to Galvin or he's this and that. But if you actually do a smidge of research, you'll see that there's nothing that, we've had in common. I've supported a Galvin project the same as I've supported, Kearney project or Penrose project or any of the other developers that we work with. My main goal is affordable housing. And if that comes from Kearney, from Galvin, from Penrose, it doesn't matter to me. We got to get affordable housing for our people.
Speaking of housing, let's talk about senior housing. Not too long ago, I seen you in a post at Providence Hall. Would you like to talk about what happened there and speak on that, man?
Yeah, so Providence Hall, a lot of people don't really understand that a lot of these buildings and complexes are privately owned. So the city has no say so in what happens to them. I can't step in and say, you want to sell your house, and I'm going to say no because I'm the mayor. You can't. You could only sell it to this person or that person. Like we have no power for that. So when I found out that Providence Hall and Schuyler Court were being sold and they were looking at losing their pilots, I reached out to the developer. My team and I reached out to the state and we said, how can we make sure this maintains, affordable housing? And we met with a developer, K&R, who was like, this is what we do. We want to keep things affordable. We want to give people all new amenities, new cabinets, new windows. We want to make it safer, ADA compliant, all of these things. And we don't want to raise the rent, but, we want to come to the table and get tax breaks in order to make this affordable for everyone. And I was a part of spearheading that conversation in those contracts. They actually changed the rules with the state so that this wasn't going to be done. But we sat down with the state so many times that they said, we're going to make an exception in this occasion. And, those are hundreds of families between those two complexes that are able to continue to live where they live without worry. And their living is going to get a little better.
Yeah, that's really dope right there. I want to stay with housing. We know you ran on housing. There have been chatter of people criticizing you about only, using certain housing or not being able to land housing. Do you want to speak on that?
Of course. One of our projects, first projects, is going to be the Kearney development down on Mill Street, and that's going to be, 70 units of mixed housing. It's an amazing project. It's energy efficient. It's going to help people, in the long run when they have to deal with electric bills and everything. We know what that's doing right now to, everyone, including me.
Me too.
And then even what I get criticized for is Depot project. And I think when people saw that first flyer and they saw those rents, those were the rents for the higher salary ranges. They weren't the ones that are for, people making 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, and even under rent. And if you look at those rents for those individuals, they're actually lower than the Hudson Terrace apartments.
Wow.
The Hudson Terrace market rate, one bedroom right now, is almost $2,000.
Wow.
It's actually cheaper than the Hudson Terrace. And that's like what we're dealing with when we're dealing with housing. Like we're dealing with these issues. And, if you go to, and I'll bring it back to, Galvin, if you go to the Galvin Civic Center, the hotel out there, there's tons of families there. It's filled with Hudson families. There's not a vacancy in sight. And none of the other candidates are going to talk to those people. They're like, oh, where are our homeless at? we don't, they expect to see like our homeless, in the street. Like, some are, but like they have no clue the gravity of what we're dealing with. And these are people that I know. And like, I'll go there and we'll know each other by name. And I'll see them and I'll see the bus going way out to the Galvin Hotel to pick their kids up, to bring them back to go to school. And, that's tough on the mental every day for a kid.
No, definitely. So I want to go to another topic, and it's about change. So many people don't like change. And I'll say it takes me a little while to get used to change also. The new curves. Let's talk about the new curves. And in the beginning, like so many people was just giving you so much pushback. I actually had an opportunity yesterday to take a walk downtown. I walked down to the train station, and those curves look amazing. So I just want you to talk about the whole process and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I took over as mayor back in 2020, the city was being sued by the federal government. We're under a mandate that all access to any city service or amenities has to be ADA compliant. So I didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to put some big ass curbs down street. This is a mandate that we had to do from the federal government, or the city will face extreme fines. They measure every sidewalk, and shout out to Justin Weaver, who's been spearheading this process. They make sure that the curbs are a certain level high. They have to be able to fit a wheelchair and a person walking alongside of it. That's why you see that they're the size that they are. They also serve as, calming measures for people speeding in the area. But you're going to see them a lot throughout the city. And that's not something that, was on my platform, but it was something that is part of the job and I had to handle. And, I had to make sure that we got done before the city receives, all these heavy fines and lawsuits.
Okay. Like I said, I do like them. I want to go back and talk about the Democratic primary. With not winning that, now you are running on the work and family line. You want to talk about that and let people know like what that means to you and how you got to there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been running on the work and families line since I was a councilman. So I've been a part of that line and, that party since probably 2016. I will say they are the organization that gave me the most support politically and really like kind of held me as their own. So I'm grateful for that. I think my work and the way the city of Hudson operates, people are going to look past party lines and vote for who they think can do the job the best, whether that's me or whether that's, one of my opponents. So to me, it's it's the name, not the party.
I
It's the,
agree. I agree with you on that. Don't shoot the messenger, sir. Please don't shoot the messenger. But I got word that you were not able to make the Pride Parade this year. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, that when I saw that, I thought that was incredibly funny, but also honorable because that means you were looking for me, that people were looking for me. But no, I had to go to a family wedding. I've never missed a pride parade since its inception. I was at the one last year where it poured and rained. I was there with my daughter who was 3 at the time, and we had a blast in the pouring rain, soaking wet. So I had to go to a family wedding, and it was beautiful. I couldn't tell them, hey, it's it's pride. You guys got to move this.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to repeat this. We are best friends, so I knew that, and plus,
Yeah.
I've marched in the Pride Parade with you many a time, so
Mhm.
I know that you have a lot of care and love for us.
Yeah.
But I just
I
wanted to
mean,
get that out
there's been pride parades where we've had our own sections,
there.
and
Yeah,
we
and
tore it up.
it was fun.
We
Um,
tore it up.
so
But
I told
why weren't my opponents at any of the other? Like, my opponents didn't show up to the Bliss Towers Community Tenant Day. They didn't show up to, Sankofa Festival. They didn't show up to the Juneteenth event. I was at all of those. I was at everything, including all the popular ones like Flag Day and Winter Walk and everything else. I was there, but why didn't they show up?
I hope they can answer that, and I would love to sit down with anyone that wants to talk to me. Again, I told you I took a walk downtown yesterday, and I was able to walk across the Ferry Street Bridge. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean that's it. It seems like nobody wants to talk about it now that it's finally done. But the Ferry Street Bridge has been closed for I want to say 18 years, 16 years or something like that. And that was like one of my main goals that I kept saying in my tenure, we're going to get this bridge back open. We're going to open it up. It's, hurting a lot of access to the waterfront. If there's an emergency, uh, ambulance could have to go around and get stuck when if a train is coming, like all of these things, all of these factors, on top of the fact that it's like, it's our shortcut to the waterfront. So that was something that we worked on hard, and we would not let up. We had to deal with so many setbacks with parts being on back order or not being made anymore. And it was times where I had to call engineers in New Jersey and like say like, hey, I know this part isn't like available anymore, but like, what can we do to get something similar or whatever? I even reached out some of our congressmen to make that call, and now it's up and it's a beautiful bridge, and that was done under my administration. We put a lot of work in to get that done.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. I want to turn the page a little bit, and I want to go into something sensitive. Again, I'm going to repeat this so no one is surprised. We are best friends, so I know the answers. But you opened up about your mental health, and
Mhm.
I was just wondering, like, what made you open up and just tell the story? I knew about it, but what made
Mhm.
you tell the story and let the other people inside of something so sensitive and delicate?
Yeah, I remember, the first time I ever opened up about my mental health issues is on when we were on the radio and we would
Yep.
bring in professionals and everything like that. So, I've been talking about it a lot when we were part of the suicide walk and all of these different entities. And it was Men's Mental Health Day. And I just wanted to be realistic about like, what mental health looks like, because sometimes I feel like people think that like I'm not human because so much stuff is said and happens, and it's like I'm able to keep focus on the work and to keep pushing forward, and I don't let it like bring me down. But it's like I am very much human. Like, I also have, daughters to protect and to watch over and to raise, so I wanted the people to understand that, I'm a human being. Men deal with, mental health issues, and like it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be vulnerable. That's a sign of strength. And, I really just wanted to give people insight to who I am, who may be new.
Speaking of mental health, woke up one morning and your name is graffiti all over a building. And
Yeah.
there's some terrible stuff that's going on there. And
Mhm.
also, you decided to take a selfie. There was some
Yeah.
pushback on that. Walk
The
us through
selfie
that.
heard around the world.
Around the world.
Times Union, can you believe it? Times Union did an article on me taking a selfie.
Oh my.
Like that's just insane. There's a lot that I won't say about that situation, but I will say that it wasn't vandalism. It's not vandalism. And for me, I woke up at 6 in the morning to a call that all that graffiti was there. My oldest daughter was getting ready for work. I'm waking up my youngest, and everybody is kind of like there's a tension about it, and everybody's calling my phone and reaching out to me on social media and everywhere about it. And I knew, my daughter had to go to work, and she's working at the camp where kids are going to be talking about it. Her friends are going to be talking about it, coworkers, everybody. It was a big thing that happens. So I didn't want to live in fear, and I really wanted to take the attention from what it was and put it on me. Like, let me carry that attention. So when it turned into me, oh my God, I can't believe he took a selfie and that. Yes, you're damn right. So you don't have to bother my daughter when she's at work. You don't have to, bring up this to my friends. You don't have to, say and worry and feel like that. Let me do the worrying and let, my family be able to live in peace. I'm gonna somebody wanted the attention of this, and I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let you just steal this attention from my work. So I'm going to do something outside the box to own, the wrong that you did. And I'm going to protect my mental health and, my family's. And that's what I did. So I took that picture and I carried it. I carried the entire situation to the point where people spoke more about my picture than they did the actual act and what that meant. If I would have been anyone else, other candidates would have, condemned that type of stuff. Other people would have been like, this has gone too far. They would have wanted to speak out and, hold rallies and different things like that. But because, it was me, it was like, well, he should have showed how much rent he paid, or he should have, it became me who's the victim in this, who's like, my family and friends and people have to see this and have to hear about this. And, for me, I just wanted to take that narrative and change it.
Speaking about the girls, Asia and Rio and everything that you're talking about, I ask you this all the time. With all
Mhm.
this stuff is going on, why don't you just walk away? Why is it so important for you to be mayor of a city when these things are happening? I mean, your mental health is being threatened, your
Mhm.
kids you got to protect. Why is it so important for you to be the mayor of Hudson?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not important for me to be mayor. It's important for me to be able to make changes in my city and to affect my city and to inspire people that grew up like me in my city. People think that there's some kind of power that comes with this position, but there's not. It's not what you think at all. Like, you're not going to be able to influence things that you think you can. But what I want to do is I want to steer our city, continue to steer our city in the right direction. I came in 2020, and 2 months later, we were in the worst pandemic, our nation has seen. And I was at the helm then. And I led us through that. I stayed calm, cool, collective, the same as I do now with all the distractions. And, I kept the city focused. And, that's what I want to continue to do. The title is, something that people want just to say that they are that. I'm the same person I was before I became mayor, and I'm gonna be the same person after. I love this community, and this is a community that when I was on my lowest, helped me. So I want to make sure kids who look like me, have the same background like me, have an opportunity to say if he can do it, I can do it.
Speaking of titles, there's another title that you carry, the Facebook mayor. Uh,
Yeah.
and one thing I wanted to ask you about that, we'll talk about that. We don't have a lot of time, but we'll talk about the person that said it and all that. But I wanted to say to you, how important is it for you to be available to the people? So
It's
people say,
extremely important.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted, people
I
say,
meet people where they're at. If they're on Instagram, if they're on Facebook, if they're, in the comments of the newspaper, if they're at the coffee shop on the street, I come wherever people ask me to come. And it doesn't matter. I think, people get caught up in the attention because like I am a personality outside of, me being mayor. So I take pictures and make posts that are funny. Like I have a personality and character. And I think that feeds into a lot of jealousy where people think that they're saying these, uh, very intelligent things and that they're making these points about our city, but no one's listening. So they get frustrated and they say they only listen to him and because he has an audience on social media. And they'll say, he's the Facebook mayor. Well, I'm also the Hudson mayor. And I've been that for 6 years. So, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and none of that made me want to say I'm gonna log off and not, talk to people anymore. Like, no, I'm gonna still continue to answer people's questions. People feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I have this issue. I need to text the mayor or tag the mayor, and I comment. And a lot of times, we get to the bottom of whatever the issue is.
I got two more questions before we get out of here. We'll definitely have to do a part two. This question I have to ask you, it is a Galvin question. Just recently, Galvin turned over all the properties to Barb. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, that I was surprised as everyone else. But that also goes into the fact that like I'm not a part of the Galvin Foundation, so it wasn't news that needed to come to me. As the mayor of the city, I would have loved to know first. So like I can help prepare, and I need to know details. But it seems like Bard doesn't even know all the details yet. I think this is going to be incredibly transformative for our city. I'm a little worried because some of the places that Galvin owns, like Columbia Opportunities, the library, Salvation Army, a lot of the not-for-profits that are housed here, they do get fair rental deals if they're paying anything, and if these buildings are sold to a private person, it's not going to be that way anymore. And then I worry about the hundreds of people who live in Galvin housing. I mean, not even myself. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I could live anywhere. But I do worry about people who have been in these apartments for 10, 20 years, and this is their home, and they're already were afraid that they were going to be pushed out with the many changes of Hudson. We want to make sure that Bard makes the right decisions and really puts the people of Hudson first.
Definitely. I've been walking around the city a lot, and I've been seeing a lot of signs. Kamal for mayor. I want to ask you this question. Was it your plan to roll out these signs later and closer to the election, or did not winning the primary kind of give you a push to say, hey, I might want to remind people who I am?
No, it was the plan all along. I mean, if November works out the way it's supposed to be, I'll be able to tell, the full story of what the plan is. But I think seeing the reaction, I really had to show people that there are a lot of people who believe in me and support me and, have my back. We didn't lose the primary by much. So I really wanted to get out there now. And, if people felt like I needed to knock more doors, I'm out knocking more doors. People feel like they wanted to have more conversations, I'm having more conversations. So, I'm not perfect, and this is a job that you're never going to make 100% of the people happy. So if there's criticism out there, then I want to get in front of it, and the best behavior is change behavior. So you want to see me at your door, I'm at your door.
So I just got the flag say we got 10 minutes left, so I'm only going to use 5 of them. I want to thank you for coming on. Again, we'll definitely have to do a part two. Is there anything that you want to add that we maybe didn't get a chance to cover?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, thanks for having me and, thanks for the people that, support for me and root for me and defend me in the comments when people say crazy stuff. And, I just would like to see this be a fair process. Like the same questions that are asked of me, the same information that is asked of me should be asked of my opponents. When I ran, I dealt with the same thing the first time. They put my taxes in the newspaper. They said that I was too young. They said I couldn't handle the budget and all of these things. They wanted me to show all of my like work history and how, I would be able to do this job. But I feel like now it's just like we don't know about these other people, but we know they're not Kamal. So like we're with them. So I would like to see us learn more about, the other candidates and make them do some actual work. Make them show up the same way I've had to show up. Um, and put their lives out there. They'll say, I have baggage or I'm this or I'm that. And that's fine. I never went into this saying I'm perfect. I'm a person that has come from poverty. I'm the person that has come from, a mother who battled substance abuse, three brothers who, have been incarcerated. One that's currently incarcerated. I'm the only one that hasn't. I've survived some things. So when I care about stuff that happens in our community, I really care about it, and it's not just the money factor. A lot of these candidates, all they talk about is money. All they talk about is collecting property taxes and taking people's homes. I want to collect those property taxes, but I want people to remain where they live, especially during a housing crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a pleasure, and we'll do this again.
Yes, yes. Looking
Right.
forward to part two.
Yes, sir.